2 Maccabees Chapter 8. Then Judas Maccabeus and they that were with him went privily into the towns, and called their kinsfolk together, and took unto them all such as continued in the Jews' religion, and assembled about 6,000 men. And they called upon the Lord that he would look upon the people that was trodden down of all, and also pitied the temple profaned of ungodly men, and that he would have compassion upon the city, sore defaced, and ready to be made even with the ground, and hear the blood that cried unto him, and remember the wicked slaughter of harmless infants, and the blasphemies committed against his name, and that he would show his hatred against the wicked. Now when Maccabeus had his company about him, he could not be withstood by the heathen, for the wrath of the Lord was turned into mercy. Therefore he came at unawares, and burned up towns and cities, and got into his hands the most commodious places, and overcame and put to flight no small number of his enemies. But specially took he advantage of the night for such privy attempts, insomuch that the fruit of his holiness was spread everywhere. So when Philip saw that this man increased by little and little, and that things prospered with him still more and more, he wrote unto Ptolemais, the governor of Cilicia and Phoenice, to yield more aid to the king's affairs. Then forthwith choosing Nicanor, the son of Patroclus, one of his special friends, he sent him with no fewer than 20,000 of all nations under him, to root out the whole generation of the Jews. And with him he joined also Gorgias, a captain, who in matters of war had great experience. So Nicanor undertook to make so much money of the captive Jews, he should defray the tribute of 2,000 talents, which this king was to pay to the Romans. Wherefore immediately he sent to the cities upon the sea coast, proclaiming a sale of the captive Jews, and promising that they should have 80 bodies for 1 talent, not expecting the vengeance that was to follow upon him from the Almighty God. Now when word was brought unto Judas of Nicanor's coming, and he had imparted unto those that were with him that the army was at hand, they that were fearful and distrusted the justice of God fled, and conveyed themselves away. Others sold all that they had left, and withal besought the Lord to deliver them, sold by the wicked Nicanor before they met together. And if not for their own sakes, yet for the covenants he had made with their fathers, and for his holy and glorious name's sake, by which they were called. So Maccabeus called his men together unto the number of 6,000, and exhorted them not to be stricken with terror of the enemy, nor to fear the great multitude of the heathen, who came wrongly against them, but to fight manfully, and to set before their eyes the injury that they had unjustly done to the holy place, and the cruel handling of the city, whereof they made a mockery, and also the taking away of the government of their forefathers. For they, said he, trust in their weapons and boldness, but our confidence is in the Almighty, who at a beck can cast down both them that come at us, and also all the world. Moreover, he recounted unto them what helps their forefathers had found, and how they were delivered when under Sennacherib, and 185,000 perished. And he told them of the battle that they had in Babylon with the Galatians, how they came but 8,000 in all to the business, with 4,000 Macedonians, and that the Macedonians being perplexed, the 8,000 destroyed 120,000 because of the help that they had from heaven, and so received a great booty. Thus, when he had made them bold with these words, and ready to die for the law and the country, he divided his army into 4 parts, and joined with himself his own brethren, leaders of each band, to wit, Simon, and Joseph, and Jonathan, giving each one 1,500 men. Also he appointed Eleazar to read the holy book. And when he had given him this watchword, the help of God, himself leading the first band, and by the help of the Almighty, they slew above 9,000 of their enemies, and wounded and maimed the most part of Nicanor's host, and put all to flight, and took their money that came to buy them, and pursued them far, but lacking time they returned. For it was the day before the Sabbath, and therefore they would no longer pursue them. So when they had gathered their armor together and spoiled their enemies, they occupied themselves about the Sabbath, yielding exceeding praise and thanks to the Lord, who had preserved them unto that day, which was the beginning of mercy destilling upon them. And after the Sabbath, when they had given part of the spoils to the maimed, and the widows, and the orphans, and residue, they divided among themselves and their servants. When this was done, and they had made a common supplication, they besought the merciful Lord to be reconciled with his servants forever. Moreover, of those that were with Timotheus and Bacchides, who fought against them, they slew above 20,000, and very easily got high and strong holds, and divided among themselves many spoils more, and made the maimed, orphans, widows, yea, and the aged also, equal in spoils with themselves. And when they had gathered their armor together, they laid them up all carefully in convenient places, and the remnant of the spoils they brought to Jerusalem. And they slew also Philauchus, that wicked person, who was with Timotheus, and had annoyed the Jews in many ways. Furthermore, at such time as they kept the feast for the victory in their country, they burnt Calisthenes, that had set fire upon the holy gates, who had fled into a little house, and so he received a reward meet for his wickedness. And for the most ungracious Nicanor, who had brought 1,000 merchants to buy the Jews, he was through the help of the Lord brought down by them, of whom he made least account, and putting off his glorious apparel, and discharging his company, he came like a fugitive servant through the midland unto Antioch, having very great dishonor, for that his host was destroyed. Thus he that took upon him to make good to the Romans their tribute by means of captives in Jerusalem told abroad that the Jews had God to fight for them, and therefore they could not be hurt, because they followed the laws that he gave them.